So, call to order. Second item of business, declaration of pecuniary interests. Seeing none, proceed. Third, adoption of the minutes. Receive the minutes. Any comments, concerns, corrections? Minutes from the last meeting? Okay. I have a motion to approve the minutes. John, second. Bernard, thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Item 4, business arising from previous minutes. The report card project. Any status update on what's going on with that?
Yeah, I don't really have one. We got up to a certain point and we hadn't really progressed any further. So I think it says we need to restart it.
Okay.
And possibly now we would have information from 2021 that we could access. But I think we were at the point where we collected a lot of the data and then we just need to get it formatted into an acceptable form, I think.
Okay.
So, and I don't know who, like, is it Vicky that we would use or I don't know, like, if we're going to hire a designer who would take care of that process.
Okay. Sarah?
That was my next comment, was what's the process in getting a designer involved? Because I think we probably are pretty close to that, or at least they can start working on a draft of what it looks like. And if we need to get some more info in that meantime, but I think we have all of the info ready.
Yeah, we just needed an infographic sort of.
Yes.
Going to be put together, right? So I don't actually know the process.
I can look into that through the chair. I can look into that, potentially speak with the city clerk and then get back to the group.
Okay. So we can put that on the agenda for September. Just follow up on what it would be the next steps. If there's things that we can do to help move it along further. I think it's a good idea. Okay, next item, potential new bike rack locations. So is there somebody had a point to make on that? No? Yes, Kathy.
I was just going to say Felicity sent some like really good feedback on the types of bike racks that are out there and what people use. And I think before we start thinking about locations, I think we should probably do a little bit of work on what are the existing bike racks? What are the ones that work best? What are the moving forward? Because there was that bike parking plan, but I think what we need to do is we need to sort of settle on, I think the post and rings work well. I think the new corrals are working quite well, and the new ones that's at the TJ Dolan plus the one downtown. But I think in terms of those portable racks or some of the racks in the rec facilities, I think we really need, what we need to do is decide what works well before we start thinking about where we want to put them, because it seems to be, from Felicity's feedback, a bit of a hodgepodge out there. And I mean, fair enough, right? Bike racks come, they get bought. The downtown BIA bought some. So I'm just, I guess I'm just identifying something we need to do before we decide where to put things or where things might go.
Right, I would think the BIA, for example, would be a good indicator of where some more could go, even if they're not providing it, for example.
Yeah, like the post and ring ones, they would have ideas about post and rings, but I think one of the things we started to think about was other facilities, like the Rotary complex, like the parks, like the splash pad. So like downtown is fairly straightforward. If the BIA send a note to the BIA, they can survey their members and they can say, where do we need more post and rings? And then that's a little simpler than, you know, what do we have at city facilities and what's working well. I think that's a bit more work. And that might be something that this group can do over the summer. There could be 3 or 4 people that might want to go out. Like Felicity did a really nice job of looking at the different clients that were up at the Rotary Complex. Maybe since we're off for the summer, that somebody could, you know, a few people could go out and look at different city facilities, see what's there, maybe snap a few pictures, get an idea of like a range of types, and then how easy they are to use, locations, things like that.
Okay. Sarah?
I do believe, and I'll have to look into this after the meeting, but I can do this as an action item. I think there is a best practice biking facilities guide that sort of gives you, and post and ring downtown makes sense. Rotary a post and ring obviously doesn't make sense. So it's sort of looking at how many people are going to be accessing it, and then what's the best practice or what are the best facilities for that. So I can take that away and then I can circulate that to Vicky, who can circulate it out to the group as just something to consider moving forward. So we've got sort of that best practice plus the feedback that we're getting from people who are using them currently.
And I think one of the things that we haven't realized is that some bike racks went in 20 years ago when hybrids were all the rage, or road bikes, and now we have people using, you know, different kinds of bikes. Certainly some of the townies and stuff have wider wheels. They don't fit as well. They're a little longer and they're not as stable. Like there's a whole pile of things that we have of new things to consider when it comes to cycling parking. I think that's why those corrals work so well, because any bike can pull up and be attached.
Okay, so casual action item for everyone is keep your eyes open at city facilities for possibility for better bike parking facilities.
Maybe more than casual. Maybe we can actually task everybody to come back in September with like that everybody visit 2 city facilities, look for bike parking and how well it works. Right? Let's get some feedback. Like let's, you know.
And we've already talked about the Rotary Complex, so let's pass on that one and try to find something that's close to home and perhaps one that others would not normally.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if we get more than one person going to the same place, we get more feedback. But everybody should, you know, ride your bike somewhere and see how it works.
Okay, Sarah?
I can organize the information. So if people want to send it to me, then I can put it into like chart format with the picture, any feedback, and then we can have like an ongoing list of that type of thing. So I'm happy to, if you go out, take pictures, I'll take some too, obviously, but send them my way. And then maybe I'll send out an update in a month to say, here's what we've covered off. And then people can have an idea.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sarah. It's very helpful.
Should we just confine this to Stratford? What if we find good ideas elsewhere?
Well, I think the bet we're supposed to be for Stratford, but I would not hesitate to steal ideas from other communities. Sarah?
Yeah, if you come up with an idea from another community, just say, this is from Kitchener, and then I can put it in like a parking lot idea of here's some ideas to consider. And then we can play that against the best practices as well.
Okay, the only reason I'm mentioning that, I'm just looking right now, the city of Cambridge in Ontario has a bicycle parking guide that they have online.
I have the city of Mississauga one from a couple of years ago. Okay, any further comments? Thank you all. Bike month update from Sarah.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for contributing to Bike Month. I think it's been a successful first month that we've really promoted it. We've had lots of different players step up and help us out, between the, I'm going to forget the terminology, but the little Fix It station downtown that was promoted by the BIA, and they had their Car Free Friday event, between the Cycle Stratford being at the market over the weekend, and then having their different rides and bike maintenance things that have been happening. And then just to encourage people with our social media posts to get out there and try the different, it's been great. And actually it's interesting. I don't know about anyone else here, but I have seen different people than I normally see out riding their bikes. Yes, I would like them to be wearing their bicycle helmets, but that's a whole other story. But I have seen people out that typically aren't our regular cyclists, if you will. So it's been nice to see that. And I think we just continue to keep promoting it, you know, throughout the year, but Bike Month's a great time to put it out. And the city has done an awesome job. Mike Bites has done a fantastic job promoting on the social media channels. So kudos to him. Any other feedback from people?
Kathy?
I just want to apologize because I got the wording wrong of the motion for like contributing to the Bike Month activity from Cycle Stratford. And I had a chat with Tatiana earlier that it wasn't the wording of the motion, that it looked like we were donating, as opposed to like we were sort of, there was a collaborative effort, like because only in the past, like we've done these things where Cycle Stratford has a speaker come and the health unit gives 500 and ATAC gives 500 and energy and environment do things where they contribute things to a project from whatever. It was the wording of the motion that, because we said donate as opposed to we'll contribute to a joint effort because it's our Bike Month activity. So that caused some confusion and caused that little bit about like the staff have advised, and that was my mistake in the wording.
Yeah. Okay.
Had we worded it different, it would have been kosher. So there you go.
Pat. Oh, you're on mute, Pat.
I just also wanted to say thanks to Sarah, because she did a lot of work and really, and in our subcommittee and with Kathy and stuff, like seriously, that really, they put a lot of stuff together. And also like Mike, he was great. Like he came out a couple times with us and rides and stuff. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yep.
It really did make it look like, you know, the city was promoting cycling and we had stuff happening, and Mike has a couple more posts coming up that are really great. Like he's got one where he actually shows a 6-kilometer loop that you can do that is all cycling facilities, which I think is he has done a particularly good making sort of a narrative of like some text and some photos and the maps. And I think that I think that if we did this if we had a Bike Month activities and expanded on them, I think it would be a really good thing. It's looked great on social media.
Good thing that Mike's a cyclist. That's where I first met him on a ride Cycle Stratford was having. So yeah, that it helps because he's pretty enthusiastic. So it's great.
So we've got just a few more days left of the promotion. So I'm not quite sure on your terminology there, Kathy, because I thought the city was pretty much promoting cycling in.
Yeah, I think it's that because in the motion we use the word donate, that the money, we should have probably said in collaboration with Cycle Stratford, the ATAC will provide funds to do this Bike Month, because in our budget we had Bike Month activities. We work with Cycle Stratford. That it was the wording of the motion, and so next time we would just we'll have to word it correctly, and how we've done in the past.
Okay, good. Vicky.
I just wanted to make note, and this goes in regards to any future activities we do where we talk about prizes. We just need to make sure that we're not falling into a lottery scheme. So how that works here is a lottery is defined that you have a prize, a chance to win the prize, and a consideration or fee to participate. So because we didn't have a consideration or a fee to participate, one of those elements was missing and we did not fall under that. But it's just something to keep in mind moving forward. As we do further promotions, that we're always keeping that in the back of our mind when we're doing the prizes.
And that's one of the reasons why we decided not to, like, in talking with Mike, and he says sometimes about when you promote a prize and then people will find a reason not to like it. So we decided to park the prize, do what we could for Bike Month in promotion this year, and revisit the idea of doing some kind of a little, prize next year once we sort of do this first. He kind of made us think twice about the people's reactions to prizes when it comes from the city.
Okay. Anything else for Bike Month? I guess, Sarah, everything is basically set up and it's all somewhat automatic from here on out.
Yes, so I created a template document of all the activities and sort of any of my own lessons learned, like setting up the calendar, for example. So I've got that all documented, and like a communications plan, I've included all the things in there. I will be handing it off next year. I don't know if I've shared with this group, but I'm pregnant with my fourth. And so I'll be gone in October. I'll have someone take over, but I've got it all documented for them. And before I leave, I'll pass it on to Vicky, who can hold it on behalf of this group. So ideally, sometime in March, I would hope that we can like start that process, and like I'll be there as a citizen, just not representing public health at that point.
Okay.
I was going to say applications to sit on committees are in like November-ish, just saying.
Plan ahead. Okay, moving on. Sidewalk stencil project.
That's me again. So thanks to Vicky, we were able to work with locating where the sidewalk stencils are. For those that weren't here in the last meeting, it's these cool kind of, you spray them on the ground, and it's to encourage kids to sort of have fun while they're walking to school. And the idea is to place them further back from the school, not near a school, but like 5-10 minutes away from a school, to sort of incentivize kids to not be just like their parents, not to just park right at the school, to park a little bit further back. So anyways, they've been located. I had a great meeting with Jeremy Witzel. I cannot remember what department he is from. But anyways, he and I have chatted. He's going to send me what paint color selection the city does have. And then I'm going to work with him on a work order details for locations, colors, and stencils used. We've got a bit of a variety. And then he will work with his manager and director on a communication strategy, whether it's going to be mass communication or targeted through letters. I can support that. And then I'll create a communication plan for the schools as well. And then the goal is to have the project done before the start of September. I will send this over to you, Vicky, for the minutes.
Okay, another Sarah, barriers to bike valet at community events.
I just wanted to bring this up. So when I was reaching out to the Stratford Live Food and Music, they had sort of in their minds thought that these bike valets would be very heavy and complicated to bring to an event and set up. And so in seeing what it was and seeing that it came in just like a little box that could easily go into a vehicle, I imagine, and when I kind of went through the bike application, like the valet application form, if you click through and see how it's set up, you realize it comes in a small carrying case. But to somebody who doesn't click through that, the barrier is that they must think they thought they needed a massive pickup truck to get these bike valets. So I just thought it would be ideal to kind of reduce that barrier so that on the application or in that sort of document that they would see about the bike valet, that it would just say something to like a small, like a regular vehicle is required. There's no massive vehicle to take this from one place to another. Because when I kind of understood her emails further, that was the barrier, but I didn't realize until afterwards that that would have been fine. Like her vehicle would have been able to hold that. So anyways, that's my feedback. I just thought I would bring it to the group because if that's something that's stopping somebody from having it at an event, that's a really easy fix.
Can somebody tell us who we would need to talk to to get that clarified in the form then? Vicky, do you have any idea?
Through the chair, I just want to confirm, we're talking about on the on the special event application, that portion. So that would be through Heather Denny. She is the
Yes.
special events coordinator out of the Community Services Department.
Okay, would be better to communicate with her. I could communicate with her directly, for example, to make that recommendation, or would it be better to do it as a formal motion that would go through the process?
Through the chair, I don't believe we need a formal motion to make a suggestion for a potential change. It is something that I could forward along the minutes and make a note of the discussion that took place in that regard.
Okay, that would be lovely.
Okay.
I think it's a good way to expand the possible use. Yes, Jody.
I'm just thinking about when we got those bike valets. So I can't remember if I did it for ATAC or if I did it because I was on Cycle Stratford, but I created a PDF on using those. So I don't know if that is still used, but I could add to that. Like if that's a document that needs to be updated, like I probably have the original one. So it just occurs to me because I did some work on that many years ago. Yeah.
I will copy you on the email, Jody, of what I'm sending to Vicky, and then you can see if that's what you're thinking about or not.
Okay. That.
Well, I just went through this. It's right on the box. Like, it's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the comment about the weight, because I had the same thing. Like, I don't have a really big car, but it was Wayne that told me that it would fit in my car. So I think that's a really valid point. But as far as putting it together, it's right on the outside of the box.
Yeah, I think it's that right at the beginning, letting people know bike valets are available and they fit in almost any car. And
Yeah, yeah.
like, I think, yeah.
And I think what I created was just like pictures of this is what it is and this is how it works. So you need to use this because it's really cool. Like it wasn't really instructions on how to
Oh,
put it together.
okay.
It was more of a sort of promotional thing. What is
Yeah.
a bike valet? You know, how do you use such a thing?
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Lakeside Drive closure request. We had a little discussion of that prior to the start of the meeting. Vicky.
Through the chair, I'm just going to give a little bit of background information before the conversation starts. So the motion was considered by the ITS committee and was defeated. No other motion regarding the matter was considered. So therefore, in accordance with procedural bylaw, a motion to file the request, meaning take no action, will be listed on the next agenda, which is June 27th. So council can choose to file the request. They can make another motion. It's open to them for what the next step is, but it will be listed as a motion to file. So just so everyone has that background information that this isn't 100% said and done, we still need to do one more vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy.
And I'm just going to point out that because I was chair of ITS committee, it's difficult for the chair to actually do a whole lot other than chair. We're not really supposed to. And so it is my intention to reopen the possibility and not file. That is my intention, but I do not know. Like, again, council has the prerogative, but you know, this committee has in the past, like we did have it provide an opinion. The committee does have the ability between now and the meeting to also send another correspondence to city council if they think the decision that was made at committee should be changed at council.
Okay. Sarah.
Can anyone who was at that meeting describe kind of barriers or in the conversation of the kind of why they went a different route or voted no? Because that would just be helpful to understand that.
Kathy.
I think one of the things was that they were thinking that this is one of the things was they thought this was COVID specific. So, you know, that there's the aspect that it was for COVID, for social distancing. It's why we originally tried it. It became very popular, and staff did actually say in the report that they got a lot of positive feedback on it. And because there was a motion to actually do something more permanent along that. The idea was to give this a try and see how it works and collect some data. But I think one of the reasons was saying that it was for COVID, and so we don't need to do it anymore. I think one of the things, there was some safety issues identified, and I think there wasn't really an understanding the staff were going to buy some more permanent kind of barriers. And so safety and COVID, not needing it for COVID anymore, seemed to be the two main issues. I think cost was also, because it does come with some staff time setup and monitoring. So those were the three sort of, I don't remember. Jody, do you remember any other reasons?
Yeah, councillors were sure that there was going to be traffic chaos, but you know, the staff didn't really identify that in their report as being a problem, and staff did talk to the festival to make sure that they were okay with this proposal before it even came to council. So I think maybe they just misreading that part of the report, or you know, or we needed to emphasize that a little bit more. So if we do get to open it for discussion again, these are things that we can bring forward. But if people want to write to council or other councillors and let them know, you know, what their prerogative is, then that would be great. So yeah, again, I think it's a great idea to try it so we can find out, you know, is it going to create traffic chaos? Probably not, but we can only guess, right? So we give it a try for a temporary period of time, and if it's horrible, we never do it again. But we'll never know till we try it. And as far as the safety issues go, last year different councillors were contacted because there was some instances of motorbikes going and passing people in the opposite lane. Like they were going so fast, they just wanted to go around slow moving cars that were probably driving the speed limit. So, you know, they were going out into opposing traffic and dodging around. This setup that's been proposed by staff would make that almost impossible because there would be barriers along the way. So the argument that that's just going to happen and that, you know, the motorbikes are going to then veer out into people doing active transportation is probably not correct, because that's why you put barriers. And, you know, a motorbike going over 30 is not going to be able to go between those barriers. So it's a bit of a moot argument, but there you have it.
It sounds like there's some misunderstandings on what the committee was voting on. I like the idea of, as individuals, sending a message to councillors. What about as our subcommittee sending a message as well? What do people think?
Well, Kathy, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say you can make a motion. ATAC has sent letters in the past, have sent suggestions. Like you are an advisory. We are an advisory committee of council. You're here to advise council if you'd like to. We did have communication and a motion in support of the closures. But and it's your prerogative to make a motion and vote on any communication you'd like to make with council before it comes back.
Okay, so what we have sent already, it doesn't necessarily come through to council at this point. We'd have to make a second.
It did come to council, but I think the secondary communication could be that given what happened in committee, we would like to emphasize, we would like to re-emphasize our desire to see you know, improved or I think, I mean, I did like that Danielle, like Councillor Ingram made it a pilot project to actually see how the one-way would work. And so again, it would be preferable if it came from like us as counselors. We're going to argue this one way or the other when we get, or debate, discuss, whatever, when we get to council. But I think that whatever comes from this committee is best to come from the citizens who are on this committee, and what message you would like to send in light of the committee recommendation, which was to do nothing.
I know on energy and environment before, when the chair basically wrote a letter endorsed by the committee, just so that it would go faster, right? Otherwise, if you're going to go through the regular process, it's not going to be very quick. So if you pass a motion saying, you know, David's going to write a letter and, you know, pass it around by email, and when we all say good, then he's going to send it off to whoever.
How much time do we have to get the message in?
Monday, this coming Monday.
Oh, not a lot of time.
I'm gone as of the midday Friday. We need to do what we need to do fairly quickly.
So there is the recommendation for, you know, for David, for the chair to write a letter asking council to reconsider their position on it, blah, 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 blah. And it can be sent to, you can, there is a, and if I get the right, you can send the letter to the clerks, but you can also copy council. Like, I think you can directly send it to council, which will go to us immediately. So my recommendation would be to also have it copied to clerk, so it can make it into the, you know, into the formal sort of package. Yeah. Am I right on that, Tatiana? I'm looking at Tatiana, but that would be correct. But this committee could send it directly to council, but they should send it to the clerk as well, right?
To the chair, yes, that's correct. Then we can include it on the agenda for receipt by members of council as well.
Okay, so after the meeting, I will. So, does anybody have any objection to that process? Any comments?
No.
Okay.
You need a mover and a seconder to actually send the letter. So.
Okay, so.
Looking at John.
John?
I'll move it.
Okay,
I'll second.
thank you. Okay, so after the meeting, I'll draft a letter. I'll hopefully send it out. A short, sweet letter asking council to reapprove. I'll send it to the committee, the citizen members of the committee for approval. Comments?
Is there any useful information from the minutes of that meeting? Because the last time I looked, when the article came out in the Beacon Herald, the minutes were not posted yet.
Well, you may want to have a look at them.
Yeah,
Yeah, just.
I would imagine they're
reference,
posted.
like, just if you're going to address specific issues that were discussed, then you may want to say, you know, this was brought up, this is what we think, or whatever, but this is our response.
Especially if we're alluding to that there's some misunderstandings and of what was voted upon. It's good to direct it to the specifics.
Okay. Kathy, you're gonna.
I was just gonna say the minutes won't come out. The minutes will come out with the agenda package, and that's Thursday afternoon, I believe. And so is that enough time then to incorporate that into a letter? And Tatiana, go ahead.
So for the chair, so the minutes from the June 13th Infrastructure, Transportation and Safety Committee meeting are available on the website, but also the recording from that meeting is available on our YouTube channel. So you can also watch the meeting again.
Yay.
How many views do we get on that YouTube channel? That's what I'd like to know.
Okay. Any further comment? Okay. Is there any new business to bring to the committee? Kathy, then Pat.
I had asked for an update. We had asked for an update on the trail project. And so I think we deferred it from the last meeting. So I'm just wondering if Tatiana had a little update for us because we were asking.
Tatiana.
So through the chair, I can advise that I spoke with the manager of Parks, Forestry and Cemetery, Quinn Malott, and he advised that he's hoping to have the post installed soon as part of the blazing project. And I believe previously Bernard reported that he had met with Quinn and identified the locations for the blazing, particularly on the trees as well. With respect to the second component of the project, unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of movement on it due to other priorities and just limited staff resources. But with the item previously about securing a designer for the report card, I'm going to send a note to staff to see what current resources are available, especially over the summer months when things somewhat quiet down. And then we'll follow back up with the members of the subcommittee and then this broader committee as well.
Thank you. Pat, you had a comment.
I put in a request to Vicky, which she kindly approached Nick about. I would like to have a regular update on the progress of the ATAC, the transportation plan, so that it becomes a regular update. And so Vicky has indicated that that's going to hopefully go on the agenda for September, but I think it's something that we shouldn't have to, I think it's something that should just become a monthly update once we move into the fall, even if there's nothing new to say from month to month. But I think it's important that we understand what's happening and also how things are progressing.
Okay.
Through the chair. So I did speak with Nick Sheldon. He indicated that he will provide an update to ATAC in September, and will continue to provide monthly updates at the meetings, and that will be automatically listed on the agenda.
Great.
This month, he did not have an update as they met today, and that did not give enough time to get the information together to present. Also, he was unable to be here this evening. So the first update will be in September, and it will be continued to be listed on the agenda each month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jody, you had raised your hand.
It actually was about the same item about the master transportation plan. I had someone reach out to me who had participated in one of the stakeholder groups and was asking when are we going to get feedback, was very eager. And I said at the ATAC meeting, I will ask. So yeah, people are anxious and eager to see follow up for sure, and feedback from the folks that are working on that project. So
Good. Kathy?
I did have some people reaching out to me, asking me about the status of there's a referral to staff to come back with a plan for the lowering of the speed limits. And so I do know that there is a staff member that is working on that report, and it should be coming to ITS. I don't have an exact date, but I hope I'll see if I can get an update at the ITS meeting next week, and maybe report back in September as well, because that's something that I know this group has been interested in as well.
It was just announced in the past week that Kitchener is going forward with their plan to lower the speed limit.
They did the pilot study in a number of neighborhoods, and so they ran it. Like they were supposed to be, COVID put a sort of a hitch in it, but yeah, and that was one of the, when we had suggested this quite some time ago, and then it was suggested that we wait and see until Kitchener did their pilot project and see what they came back with. So I do know that staff were reaching out to the communities that were doing pilot projects as part of the report that would come back to us. So hopefully, if Kitchener's pilot projects went well, they can incorporate that information into whatever's coming back to us.
Okay, Don?
I'm delighted to hear that the city is considering a speed limit across the whole. I would be very interested to know what they're going to do about enforcing it. Because there's many streets right now that have speed limits. Even if it's a 50-kilometer speed limit for an unposted road, which is an automatic thing from the province. But I think you know that through a friend on the Toronto Police Force, I was able to use a radar gun for a period of a week. And the average speed on our street is never less than 50. And there are many, many vehicles, including some city vehicles, that break that speed limit. So I'm delighted to hear that we're considering lowering the speed limit, but if we don't enforce it, it won't mean much.
Right. Kathy?
So the motion wasn't just for the lowering of the speed limit. The motion actually included a collaborative effort with the Stratford Police on how enforcement would look, and also looking at different ways of doing physical infrastructure adjustments that would actually lower the speed limits as well. So we know full well that you can't just lower a speed limit and expect that there is. And I think if the police chief has a conversation, and there's also something that's in the transportation master plan where it's not just about posting something, is that you have to do the education, you have to do the enforcement, you have to do the infrastructure. And so if you look back at what the motion was, it includes all of those components.
Well, it's not something I enjoy doing, but probably every 2 weeks on average, I remove a dead animal from our street. And that's one street. I haven't needed to remove a dead child, but we have a lot of kids on the street. We have a lot of cyclists who I saw a very near call as recently as yesterday. So enforcement has to be part of this.
Yeah. And there's some other repercussions, because I think the vehicle that most consistently runs along our street is the buses. And
yeah,
their defense is that they have to get around their cycle in 30 minutes. So if you're dropping the speed limit, you need to adjust the route or adjust the timing of the route. So a little bit of a follow-on effect that takes them a while to get through. John
has.
Yeah. In relation to this, the editorial in the Globe and Mail today speaks to this topic about lowering the speed limit and enforcement. And they speak about automated enforcement. I think in Edmonton over 1 year, they ticketed 54,000 people with strict adherence. And it does say automated enforcement does change people's behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the neighboring ones have put the automated enforcement, particularly in schools, where it's most important. You gonna say something, Kathy, or?
No, I was just going to say, and that's all part of it. That is why we realize that it has to be more than just lowering the speed limit. Automated is another one. I think there's a quite often what you see with that one is what does it cost to implement it, and what can you the cost recovery on it, and understanding that part of it. I like Toronto's mobile ones, right? Like where they'll move the automated so people like don't start to avoid it. Because one of the things when you put permanent ones in that are visible is people then start booting around in other streets a little faster. So it's also that you don't want to start pushing the problem to other streets. You want to make it random so that people never know where it's coming from.
And Toronto's are actually third party, that they're contracted. So it's not strictly a cost to the city. Bernard.
I just wondered, I'm curious how automatic enforcement works.
It's a photo radar installation. It's
the top of the line systems today run around $4,500 to $4,700 a piece. They are solar powered. They will operate for an extended period of time before you have to download the data. So they'll collect as much as 30 days worth of data. And by that, I mean, in the more sophisticated ones, they have taken a photograph of the car as it went past. So you've got the speed and the license number. So I know $4,500 is not inexpensive, but if the city would put up one on my street, I'd probably buy it.
It's not the cost of the, so just the flip side of it, it's not the cost of the units themselves. It's the operational cost and the staff time and the trying to get the tickets and all that kind of thing. That's just which is why Toronto went to a third party, because they take care of all those costs and they make their, if you go to an AMO meeting, you will find multiple sessions where there is a third party private contractor that wants to do that for you, with the school bus as well. The units themselves aren't the issue. It's that everything else that goes with it, the operational and the going after people and the billing and all that kind of stuff. And the question would be, would a third party think that Stratford's a big enough market for them to make money? I would argue probably yes, but who knows? We haven't looked at it yet. Until we get the staff report back, we don't know.
Yeah.
Any further comments? Any other new business? Okay, so the next meeting is end of September 28th. Could I ask somebody to make a motion for adjournment? Jody, second. Don. All in favor of adjournment? Carried. Thank you very much. Enjoy your summer. Take some good pictures.